Hi everyone, welcome back to Very Venture China. Today I'm here with you guys, Dennis, Richard, and today we're gonna talk about one of the cool subjects that we still didn't open up. So we talk about studying in China, about living in China, about housing in China. We've been talking about visas, what type of visas you can get in China. But let's delve a little bit more on the everyday stuff, into the mundane, and talk about one of the most important things here: how to move around in China, how to get from point A to point B, public transportation in China. As convenient and fast as your clicks on the, by the way, subscribe, like and comments buttons, right? So please leave your comments below and make sure you subscribe to the channel, because this actually helps me to feel like $1 million already, right? So today in this particular video we're gonna go through transportation in China. What kind of public transport here in China, here in Guangzhou, and I will tell you about it using Guangzhou as an example, right? So except the prices can almost entirely be applied to all over China, right? So all of these are my observations and I'm gonna share with you within no time. And all of that actually been with me for some time, so I have been in Guangzhou for half a year, so prices didn't change for now. So fresh information straight from Guangzhou, guys. Let's go. So guys, let's go. So first of all, let's start with some basics. Let's start with basic mode of transportations here in Guangzhou you will encounter every day. That every day you will see or use these transports. So first of all, number one, buses. Who doesn't know what bus is, right? So pretty obvious. So, but actually bus is one of the most popular means of transportation here in China. The roads usually cover both urban and rural areas, so which makes it possible to get to almost anywhere you want. So you can schedule it, right? And you can go through the schedule, you can find how to get from point A to point B or from point A to point X, right? So with different interchanges. Moreover, buses are very affordable here, thanks to CCP and thanks for the government. Thanks to the government that they make it very affordable for everyone. So fares are very low, so if you're in China to study and want to maximize your savings, save more money, so buses are definitely your choice. In Guangzhou, the fare is only about 2 yuan. Many buses in China are equipped with smart technology and GPS systems for real-time road tracking. So it means Wi-Fi, automated fare payment systems via mobile apps or QR codes will work easy, right? So instantly use your WeChat, Weixin, right, or use your Alipay. Actually, in recent years, China has taken environmental issues pretty seriously, so that's why so many buses are now gradually being replaced by electric buses with BYD. Even in some European countries already we can see this trend coming out. And for example, Shenzhen, which I definitely show in next episodes, completely switched to electric buses, becoming one of the leading cities in the field of green transportation. So from buses, we're gonna take a subway. So moving to subway, since early 2000s, China has greatly expanded its subway system. And the Shanghai Metro is the largest metro in the world in terms of total line length with more than 700 kilometers. In major cities, subway networks cover all of the neighborhood. This fact, together with the speed of trains and their number, makes this mode of transportation even more convenient than buses. However, the price of the subway is a little bit more expensive, a tiny bit, okay? If we take Guangzhou, on average passengers pay 2 yuan for 3 stops. In other words, the further you go, the more you pay. But even the longest trip will not exceed around 12 yuan, okay? So around 2 euros less. To get to the main attractions, markets, shopping centers, you will need no more than 4 yuan one way. There are different types of tickets, right? So there is a single-use ticket, most suitable for tourists. You can only use it for the day of the purchase, but you can also issue a refund and get your money back, but only within 30 minutes of purchase, right? This ticket looks like a coin, which must be presented to a special machine when entering the platform. And when you leave the metro, you need to leave it, actually. You enter, you put it into the machine. And to exit the metro station you arrive to. There's also a deposit ticket, so designed for several trips, right? It's purchased also at ticket offices or at machines, and it entitles you to 5% in the subway. So also in Guangzhou, they have a transport smart card. It's a transportation card that actually can be used in any type of public transport. So simultaneously, there are 8 types of such cards. The most acceptable for tourists is about 20 yuan card. If desired, the balance of the card can be topped up. It is done in service centers at subway stations. Among other things, the transportation card can be used to pay in stores or vending machines. Very convenient. Railroads. China also has very well developed railroads. Right, so Guangzhou, for example, is connected by high-speed trains with other major cities like Shenzhen, Shanghai, Beijing, and in addition to high-speed lines, Guangzhou has numerous commuter and intercity trains that serve less remote areas, right? So it's very convenient to get pretty anywhere you want with public transportation, especially when you live in cities like Guangzhou or Shenzhen. Fares for tickets greatly varying depending on distance and classes you're taking. So maybe you want to take business class, first class, right? Naturally, first class, of course, will cost much more, but then in return you get leisure and comfort of sitting and sipping your coffee or wine or taking a nap actually, right? Before your next meeting or before your next tourist activities. So if we talk about not very distant trips, for example, to the neighboring city of Shenzhen, then the trip would cost around 75, like actually between 75 and 150 yuan. So again, depending on the desired level of comfort and service. At the same time, I will share one interesting fact with you guys. So a trip to nearby cities within 150 to 200 kilometers will take you much less time if you go by car. The fact is actually, first you have to get to the train, right? Here is the trick. So first you have to get to the train station. It takes time. It's a very strict control, right? So like at the airport, you can imagine. It will take you around 40 minutes. And after that, you do the check-in to the train. Once you get onto the train, calculate the time, right? So for instance, like 1 hour, you get more with the time that you can actually get from point A to point B, the ride itself. And when you arrive to another city, you need to order another cab to the place you need, right? So another time you need to spend on commuting. And usually it takes again like half an hour to get to your desired location from the train station. So if you sum up the cost in money and time, you can come to the conclusion that within 200 kilometers, it's much easier to travel with a car. So you sit from point A and you exit at point B. So no need to commute, right? So with metro, underground, here and there, and then you change 3 means of transportation. Pretty annoying and pretty time consuming, I would say. At the end of the day, you will be exhausted, right? Especially if you come for a short trip, so better to take a taxi within this distance, up to 200 kilometers. That would save you a lot of time, nerves, and you will be more fresh. You can make a lot of other activities afterwards. So you can come to the conclusion that within 200 kilometers, it's much easier and safer for you to travel by car. And you will get there faster, but you will spend around the same amount of money, right? So money doesn't matter. Money is not the real fact in this particular situation when you decide which way you want to go, by which transportation you want to go, by taxi or by train. Now let's talk about cabs. I spent the most of the time while commuting in China sitting in the cabs and ordering it on Didi. The most popular and quite affordable way for foreigners to move, especially when you cannot read Chinese characters and it's very difficult for you to commute between cities or between areas, neighborhoods in the city. As I said in the video about moving to China, be prepared to order a cab only through a special app, Didi Chuxing. Otherwise, the trip can be much more expensive, especially if you fall for a cab driver who sees you as a foreigner and wants to make extra money from you, especially, right? So wants to make more money, of course. Moreover, cab drivers practically do not speak English, so it's much easier to set the end point of an application and not talk at all. You don't need to explain to the driver where you go, why you go, when do you want to exit, and so on. So just put all the details using your translator into Didi app, point A to point B, that's it, you see the end price. Pretty easy, right? So otherwise, cabs are an ideal option to get the place you want with maximum of comfort. So take all of the preferences already in the app. So traffic depends on the city, of course. here in Guangzhou, it's actually not that much of a hassle, but only if you go like in the rush hours in the city center, right? So then it can be actually quite tricky. Rush hours in the morning and the evening, like pretty similar to any other megapolises, big cities in the world. So nothing new completely. So therefore, I highly recommend you to use a cab, especially if you need to get to a completely unknown part of the city in the middle of the night or any other time, definitely. So guys, the transportation rentals. So this block of the video, to be honest, will be short because actually I never rented a car in China or any other rentals or even bike. Never been using it in China before. So, but I negotiated and consulted with other Chinese guys, especially with Simon, and might just briefly tell you what kind of transportations you can use here at your fingertips. You can rent plenty of stuff, right? So first of all, let's start with cars. For this one, you need to have a driving license in China. Yes, you heard me right. You have to get a driving license in China. Not your international driving license from your home country, but the Chinese one. So make sure you don't do this mistake and don't end up in the trap once maybe you borrowed the car from your friend who lives in China, but you forgot to mention that you have only your home country driving license. You will be in trouble. So make sure you actually have the driving license that is issued in China by Chinese authorities. So if you have a license, you can borrow a car, you can rent a car, that's cool, it's logical. If you don't know how to drive a car, you can always rent a driver, right? So you can get a car with a driver. So this option, however, is not that cheap, right? But it's more suitable for businessmen, for company owners who came to China for business and don't have time and don't count money for these expenses. You can just simply make it as a company expense. And you need to travel frequently for business meetings. You don't want to waste time sitting, commuting on buses and other means of transportation. Or you don't want to use taxis every time to order a new car. So you want to have one taxi driver, one driver who will personally tailor your trips with you. Such rental is similar to a simple cab call, but with the option to choose a premium or more comfortable car. So upgrade your stay, your commuting in China. So for a high price, of course, you can get a prestigious car, the highest quality service and professional driver who don't ask questions in Chinese if you don't speak Chinese. So it's more possible to rent a car for professional use, and there are many companies offering this option, this service. Moreover, thanks to various websites, you can book a car even before arriving to China, right? Very comfortable, very easy. Just use Google. Such services will offer you a variety of cars to choose from, of course, current rental price and the list of the necessary documents you must have. That's the end of the rental. As I said, I haven't used it myself here. I was living in the city center of Guangzhou and I have pretty good friends who actually helped me to navigate around and who drive me and had knowledge how to use Didi app. So I cannot tell you everything about rentals here for now, right? So in the next episode, if you will get interested. So I don't think that this situation is very different from other countries. It's pretty much everywhere the same. The prices maybe varies, right? So everything is convenient and you can find inexpensive options that will suit your portemonnaie. So guys, to sum up everything and highlight the main pros and cons of public transportation in China, let's start with the positive. Let's start with pros. So number one, affordability. Of course, public transportation in China is relatively cheap to other countries and it's make a good option for daily commuting, daily usage. Number two, so second one is actually interconnectivity and how widely spread a public transportation connection, right? So buses, subways, trains allow you to get to almost any point in the city and beyond. It's green, environmentally friendly, right? So important point, authorities proactively support the use of electric and hybrid vehicles. In addition to the fact that it's the most comfortable ride, an electric bus, but also breathe in the city is more convenient and easy, and most transport doesn't emit carbon dioxide and other pollutants. Also, not only clean to breathe, but much less noise of those constantly working motors, right? So you can actually see and notice it immediately. And also I would like to mention technology. Technology is a fair payment with the help of a mobile application and QR codes, online timetables, road tracking, especially when you use local maps, for instance, as I mentioned before, Baidu Maps, online ticket booking. This all allows you to use public transportation with the maximum of comfort and get maximum out of it. However, I would like to mention my personal 2 cons. So number 1 is overcrowding. When it's rush hour, man, you can forget about about the seat place. You will never be able to get it. So during rush hours, subways and buses can be so overcrowded, not in your Western or European mindset, but in the Chinese sense, right? It can be so difficult to breathe during rush hour because you're so tightened to each other. This is the problem, of course, especially in the big cities, I would say, such as Guangzhou. Number 2 is a language barrier. So without knowledge of Chinese, it can be difficult to navigate the public transportation systems, especially if the schedule and other common information is not translated in English. But you can always use, of course, the translator, mobile apps, which is described in the episode about moving here. So guys, to conclude everything we've been talking about, public transportation in China is an incredibly convenient, technologically advanced and affordable systems and mean of transportation that allows you to get around the city, intercity connections, right, to get from point A to point B or from point A to point X and so on. So with multiple changes, right? So you can get pretty anywhere at any budget, right? Depends how much money you want to spend on it, how much you value your comfort, or maybe you want to spend more money on tourist attractions, or get better coffee, get better food instead of paying for first class or business class on the train tickets. So intercity roads you can get very easily and quickly. Pretty cool, huh? While there are downsides, of course, such as we mentioned, overcrowding during peak hours and language barrier, these drawbacks can be overcome with planning, mobile apps and online translators. So definitely you can tackle all those issues by yourself if you think about it. So subscribe to the channel, leave your like, give me some of these likes, guys, because we make a really good job for it. We are working our asses off to make this content for you. Share your travel stories in the comments below. See you in the next episodes at Very Venture China. Thank you very much, guys. Let's go. Bye bye.